I'd like to welcome onto the stage the moderator for the session, Marco Schierhorn. Hello, Marco.
Hello, great. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and I hope you get well soon. So,
thank you.
My name is Marco. I'm the managing partner at Beyond Consulting. It's a new company we founded inside of Omnicom, and we have a strong focus on supporting our clients and consulting them on how to set up the right marketing technology infrastructure. And the last 1 to 2 years, always questions from our clients arise like, how does the cookieless future influences my business and how I can prepare my company for that? But not only from our clients, this is very important, also of course, for the big media agencies and their digital advertising campaigns, and of course, for the whole programmatic ecosystem. So when we look back in history, I think every one of you remembers that when those challenges arise and everyone started to get nervous, the shift started in 2018 with GDPR, and then we needed to take care of the user consent and the data privacy suddenly. Then ITP in 2019 came up, there's a Safari browser and ETP with Firefox. And then a blog post of Google got a lot of attention, the blog post about Google's privacy sandbox. And now everyone is talking about Flocked and Flitch and some other word names. And of course, at the beginning of this year, iOS 14.5 with app tracking transparency also was published. And now there's a challenge to get really the IDFAs and really talk to the consumers or track conversions. Based on that, I always hear that we have many challenges. Getting the right users consent, we are CMP, and it's everything we are doing fine from a legal perspective. How can I address my customers in a very personal way, and how can I track my conversions? Or also what Glenn Wind mentioned before in the session, how can I create an identity graph? In the past, everyone was gathering data. We were buying third-party audiences with no transparency on how they were created, and if we have the right targeting audience for our campaigns. But in my opinion, I wouldn't see only challenges. I would see opportunities. Our opportunity now is to create a user data privacy-friendly environment and establish a direct-to-consumer strategy and building a future-proven marketing infrastructure where, for example, a CDP could be the heart of it. And also take care of a transformational shift inside of companies and break up the old silos. Those opportunities leads, of course, to the overarching goal to focus on the customer itself, a transparent environment for them, and of course, a great tailored user experience. And now I would like to introduce you to Catherina. She's the global head of media agencies in partnership with Philips. And she will talk now about a blessing in disguise, how Philips embraces the new digital data reality.
You're on mute, Catherina.
We practiced that, and then this is how it's supposed to go. So sorry. And here I went. Hey, Marco, thank you. Great setup. I really appreciate that you set me up like that for just a short talk to explain to you how we have managed this new data reality that we're in. So I'm a little bit of a repetition as to what it is that we've been working on, and I'm not sure, but my clicker isn't working, guys. Yes, there we go. Consumer awareness has changed. As Marco just mentioned, a lot of this has been driving changes in regulation and now changes in technology. Something that I think is very important for us to notice that this is not about cookies. It started with cookies, and then it went into third-party data as a whole. iOS 14 update is really just all tracking. I'm a big proposer of data ownership, and as a consumer, I really enjoy the fact that I can tell Facebook that I don't want them to track me everywhere and everything that I do, and that I have a choice to share data when I do so. And if I do think that as a consumer, I think as a company, we have to make sure that we're on the same page. I think most companies need to be. So this era of third-party data is ending. And that's also how we want to make sure that we prepare as a company for what is to come. I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong, but I don't think so. Okay, so this means that at Philips, with the changes of GDPR regulation and other changes coming. We're moving from an era of compliance to ethics. We're compliant. We've got everything in place. Our legal departments, on top of this, we've got privacy experts making sure that we're following every rule to the letter. But it's not just about the rules. This is also about a decision that we as companies need to take, advertisers. We need to decide, how do we want to engage with people in this new reality? If all consumers are telling us that they really do not want us to track them, then that says more than just following the letter of the law. We must consider if the benefits of our advertising are actually outweighing the consequences for our customers. If you could move on to the next slide. Good. So Philips is a company that most people know for either light bulbs or vacuum cleaners, or maybe you know of the fact that we build a lot of health technology next to the televisions that might be in your homes. We are a born innovator. This year actually marks our 130-year anniversary, and we are improving people's lives with innovation. We've been doing so from the very start of our existence. So that also means innovating the way that we are engaging with our customers. To the next slide. Sorry, my clicker is broken apparently. So products come and go and technologies change, but Philips as a company, we're very much about one thing: meaningful innovation and making sure that the innovation that we build is there to improve. We focus very much on health technology, and if you're in a hospital, a lot of the technology you'd see around you, from sonogram machines to MRI scans, are built by Philips. And we bring that into people's homes as well. A lot of connected care products to make sure that you can receive care at home comes from the Philips organization, which means that we have a very specific relationship, right, with our customers. We have a direct relationship that matters. A lot of companies have invested heavily in this also over the course of COVID. Make sure that you build that direct relationship so you're no longer reliant on third parties, not just managing your advertisement, but also managing your sales. And these direct relationships matters to make sure that you hit those moments that matter. But in the next slide, it is also about making sure that those relationships rely on trust. And this is why I spoke about the fact that we're a health technology company. It's actually an image of one of our products, which is a headband that helps you sleep. We collect a lot of information about you, but also when you buy products on our website, we know a lot about you and where you are in the phase of your life, whether you just gave birth, whether you're suffering from sleep apnea. It's information that we don't necessarily want to share by adding pixels to our websites and sharing this openly with other platforms, even if it means that our campaigns are measured differently or better, so they say, or that our targeting opportunities change. So change is constant, which is what we know, us being Philips, being part of this innovation. So when the industry changes, we adapt. We've set up a cross-functional project charter within our organization, which is on the next slide, that provides us with a multidisciplinary approach. This is not just something within media. This is about technology, about data, and about privacy. So we come together as a cross-functional task force where we have decided to build guiding principles that lead every decision that we make. And these are decisions really from pixel placement to setting up API, conversion API, for example, with Facebook right now. We approach it from these 4 regions and we decide, is it actually worth implementing it? And every decision is tackled from all sides. It's also how we manage the conversations with Google, the conversations that we have with Facebook. It's more than just a media perspective. And also we tap into our data strategy within the company, the data strategies that we have when we build our products. We build digital twins in hospitals of people. That's a certain way of looking at data and making sure that we use that data. So we're tapping into our brand, the core of our company, to make sure that what we do in the advertisement space reflects that exactly, so that we move forward in one as one company. And then I think the last slide is that we've set this up as a set of guiding principles. We've put them down and narrowed them down to 5. It's about data ownership, of course. We all say customer is the owner, but that also means taking responsibility for that ownership if a customer is really the owner, but also sometimes Philips is the owner. And we need to make sure that we are clear on what happens to the data that we own. Same goes for transparency. We work with partners in a transparent way. We expect that both ways. Accountability, we are actually accountable towards our consumers and our customers who use that data. And the intention. And the last, I think, is the intention of the data being used. And the last piece is very important to me, which is the downstream use. If I share data with a third party, even when that third party seems valid and is working according to all the rules and the laws, it doesn't mean that they end up sharing the data with another party and another party. I've read of studies where data ends up being shared with 200 to 50 companies altogether. So I think in general, we really need to make sure that we track the full downstream use of every data set that we share. So with that, with a little bit of a technical hiccup, I've come at my end of my time, but I hope that explains a little bit of how we manage things at Philips and how we are approaching this, not just from a technical perspective or from a media perspective, but really just joining forces.
Yeah, really great presentation. I love it. And yeah, it's also the principles you have talked about and the guidance you have we're talking about internally is absolutely the right way. And what is also important that you're also focusing on really on the user and his needs and requirements from a data privacy perspective. Huh? Everyone is talking about, oh no, we don't have any data anymore, but this is the most important thing, that they respect the user's privacy.
Yeah, and also, sorry.
Yeah, so, go on.
No, I wanted to say is like for those of us who've been around this industry for a while, we didn't always have all of this data. And also there's enough studies showing now that, well, it'll kind of come ebbs and flows, right? But there's studies coming out now that show that all these people-based targeting efforts aren't as effective as we have claimed that they were, and that contextual advertising is the next best thing, even though it's the old best thing. So it's really, there's a lot of noise out there. And none of this is really new.
Exactly, that's definitely true. Yeah, and I think we also have a lot of things to discuss later in our breakout room. And I have two questions. So what I've mentioned in my introduction speech, we have a lot of clients approaching us and asking us, how can I prepare for the future? What should I do? How can I prepare my company for that? And what would be your advice for someone who's asking you the questions based on your experience in Philips or based on your whole life experience and other companies? What are maybe the main important three things
to get started if this is a problem that you're tackling? So one is try to get a lay of the land. If you are in your company only now trying to figure out what to do in this new data reality, that's fine actually, because this has been happening for a while and it will continue to happen. So you're not late anyway, in a sense. But try to understand your own media investments and what it is that you actually do. A lot of us don't really know. A lot of this is outsourced, sits with agencies, sits with other teams. So first you get your lay of the land. Then what we have done is we have looked at our own brand, the core values that we have as a company, and then we're matching what we're doing externally to what it is that we want to portray as a brand. And I think that's a very important thing to note here, that it's really a continuous effort of Philips being a company focused on the improvement of people's lives. Then that also means working with data in a certain way. And it doesn't mean that we are never going to be using third-party data or that we won't be using Facebook or TikTok or any other platform. Of course we will, but we'll do it according to these principles, these guidelines, and we'll only share certain types of data and only when we see that the benefit outweighs the potential, I don't want to say anything nasty, but non-benefits for others. And then I think you asked for 3 steps. The third is start speaking to your partners, speak to your agency, speak if you have a direct relationship with a Facebook and a Google or your DSP actually connected to the talk we just had. reach out, have an open conversation. For example, Integral Ad Science is a company that we work with. And the other day we reached out to him, was like, okay, so tell us, what is it that you're doing? How do you measure exactly? What is it that you do? Do you use cookies? No. Okay, so what do you use? Try to get an understanding. We rely a lot on technology and partnerships without really looking under the hood of how these partners work. Now is a really great time to use this change to identify what they do, how they do it, and if that works for you and the core values of your brand.
Definitely, definitely. It's also maybe a discussion about also KPIs. When I look at media agencies, for example, like main KPI was in the past, for example, to reduce the cost a lot. And so they were not really focusing maybe on some quality aspects, but it also needs to be a shift more to really business relevant KPIs for the clients as well. That's really important as well, besides our whole data and infrastructure questions, right?
Yeah, and there's many KPIs that we've been using that are disappearing. So this is happening on a media activation front. It's happening on a media measurement front, and it's bigger than media, but let's just keep it to media for now. And it's happening on a technology front. There's changes happening across the chain. So we are very much looking at the KPIs that we set for at a high level with our agency. And as Marco knows, we just announced that we're shifting agencies because we're moving over to Omnicom. So he's going to be part of our new agency. But we are exactly having these conversations right now with your global team as to, okay, so how do we measure success? And what does that mean for both of us, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And time is now over. And we'll be happy to see some faces later in a breakout room, in a breakout session, and happy to discuss a lot of other questions there.